Okay, let us get to the last part. Now that we have established why writing is so important, which benefits it gives you, let's get into the 3 tips that I have prepared for you guys today on how to make sense of writing and how to approach it for yourselves. The first tip for creative, brain-friendly writing is to ditch linear thinking. Ditch linear thinking, ditch chronological order, ditch all of that. The reason why people are so scared of writing sometimes and just don't do it and just prefer to figure it out mentally is that writing traditionally has become to be associated with so much pressure. Like if you think back to school, you know, when you were writing an essay, like a persuasive essay, for example, how strategic you had to be. You know, you had your intro, you had all these arguments, and then boom, you didn't see that one coming. You know what I mean? So it always had to make sense. You actually wanted to convey something with it, right? With the writing. And so in that sense, writing is very often associated with pressure. And as we know, if you're dealing with an idea and dealing with, you know, trying to bring something out, pressure, anything like that, is just not helpful. So that's why people often shy away from writing. And a way to counter that is to ditch chronological order, ditch linear thinking. Don't try to, you know, write your thing top to bottom in the most coherent way. You will not be able to, because as we said in the beginning, especially if it's like idea stage, you're dealing with fragments, right? You're dealing with things you're still trying to make sense of yourself. So in order to, you know, assist yourself the best way, don't force yourself to write everything in an order, because that is going to add pressure and that is going to kill the vibe, basically, for your mind. Take, for example, my notebook, right? You see this? All my writing is very, you don't really see much top to bottom writing, or like, you know, everything, it starts somewhere. I illustrate a lot. It's not a nice drawing, but it's just something that makes stuff more visible. So you see, so it looks messy, but that's actually how our brains work. Our brains do not operate in, you know, point 1, point 2, point 3. So don't force yourself trying to do that. Ultimately, you know, especially if we're talking about putting a deck together or, you know, trying to find collaborators, of course, at some point you will get to the point where you have a whole coherent body of writing, you know, that conveys your idea. But being where you are in the process in the beginning, you just want to make sure that you get a translation from your mind into the written form in the easiest way. And the easiest way to do that is to start anywhere. And by anywhere, I mean anywhere on the page, anywhere in the story, anywhere. Write the first thing down, scrap it, write the next thing down. Just start writing and see what happens for yourself. The second one that I want to share with you today is these guys here, Post-its. I know it's a very cliche for people that have been in my industry, like in any design innovation context, you just see these everywhere, but it is because they make sense. They actually make sense. Reason being, for it to really make sense, you have to remember one thing. If you start experimenting with these, if you've never done that, make sure that you only write 1 point per Post-it. Okay, only one. Don't bullet point your way through Post-its. Don't do that. It's just not gonna be helpful. It's almost the same logic as what I said before, is you want to give yourself the freedom to work with the thoughts that you have in a way that is most native to your brain and how it naturally works. So by putting things on Post-its, 1 point each, not only do you now have it written down, benefit number 1, but benefit number 2 is now you can actually move these things around. Okay. So that what makes writing on Post-its so potent, because there's even less pressure for you to mess anything up. You know what I said about the pressure earlier, the pressure that it has to be right? If you use these, there's even less pressure, because now not only can you at every point throw it and write a new one, but also you can actually now move it around and, you know, move them around in a way, again, how your brain actually functions, you know. So you might, without pressure, start to write one post-it, put it somewhere. You can even forget about it, write the next one. But if you've created, like, if you've written enough of those and you start putting them out in front of you, you can even do it on your desk. I do it on my desk a lot of times. You actually enable yourself to work directly with what's in your brain. You can start moving things around. You remember the movie Minority Report? I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what happens in that movie. I think it was like 5 years old when that movie came out. But I do remember this, you know, like this scene. So that is basically that. Because what happens is that you enable yourself to see your thoughts from outside and now make connections here, be like, oh, okay, these, you know, can be grouped together. Maybe I think about that later. You know, oh, these 3 things I always thought about, they're actually one bucket. You can start group things and you can give your thoughts now a form, okay? So those were tips 1 and 2. The third one is if you are ready to dig a little bit deeper, okay? The third is from this book called The Artist's Way. I don't remember the author's name right now. She wrote this book like at least 30 years ago. I'll put it in the description down the video. But The Artist's Way, this book is something this lady wrote, as I said, over 30 years ago. And she would work with artists, she would work with creators from all different fields. It could be writers, but it could also be sculptors, it could be actors, it could be musicians, everyone. And she helped unblock them. She helped them unblock whenever they felt like blocked in their, you know, in their process or whatever. She would help with that. And after having done that numerous times, at some point she then decided to put this workshop that she was then regularly teaching, to put that into a book, and that is the book The Artist's Way. And The Artist's Way really built on 2 main tasks, and one of which is something that I'm sharing with you today. One is called morning pages. And morning pages is an exercise that she recommends to do every morning, and you write 3 pages unfiltered thoughts. Could be anything. And if you want to write, I don't know what to write for 3 pages, you're free to do so. The whole point is to get yourself in the flow and practicing a free flow of thoughts. And this sounds easier than done, because remember everything that I told you in the last video about how people, you know, are more trained for failure recognition, are more trained to, you know, see the weak spots and all of that. Well, guess what? It's you too. It's all of us. We've all been socialized together. We all have been breathing the smog, you know, if that's how you want to look at it. And so it's very likely that the same things that, you know, you want to protect yourself from others, the same thinking patterns are actually thinking patterns that you yourself have as well. And so the reason why people are blocked a lot of times is because they subconsciously have these, but what if it's wrong? What, you know, like all these sabotaging thoughts. And the whole idea behind morning pages is to become aware of that. So by writing every morning, whatever you want to write, it could be journaling, it could be a random story, it could be anything, right? But by doing that, you see what happens in your mind. Right, so those are the 3 tips that I wanted to share with you guys. If you have an idea sitting in your mind, you don't really know where to move it or how to move it forward, try writing it down. Try writing it in a way where you don't pressure yourself for it to make sense. Start anywhere, write in small blocks, try using post-its, try what it does for you once you have things in front of you and start moving things around. Try to see how that propels your progress further. And then lastly, if you are curious enough, try the morning pages. For me personally, it has just become a way, one, to just be in touch with where my mind is in general, but I can definitely tell that, you know, the inner critic, the inner, oh, this is not good enough, definitely became visible and thus addressable through that, which started to, you know, support me in my process overall. So that really is a more supporting exercise that I definitely recommend, and that I'm very curious to hear if you've been trying it and what you have been thinking. That's it for today. I had initially planned 3 videos for homeschooling. I think I might get more because you guys have been asking me stuff. What's definitely going to happen is we're definitely looking into how, as a team, with our friends or acquaintances, whoever, how we can consciously support each other and what some things are, you know, to move each other forward, and how to do that in a strategic way. So with that being said, I hope this video was helpful for you. Give us a like if it was. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you're not missing out on the next video. Share with us also if you have been trying any of these exercises. And until then, more power to you. Not only are you now at the point